Hello there. So if you're taking a world language class this semester, Spanish, French, Arabic, Mandarin, German, doesn't matter, whatever. These 3 tips will make your class easier and help you get the most out of it. My name's Carp. I speak English, French, and Spanish. I've been a tutor and a teacher of languages for over 12 years, and these are the 3 tips that I think all students should know when starting a world language class. So if you're taking a world language class this semester, let me make it as easy as possible for you. Let's jump right in. Here is the list. Wait, nope, that's the wrong list. Hang on. All right, here it is. Tip number 1, take in the language without trying to translate everything. This is something that I would universally see students do, especially if it's their very first semester or their very first year in a language class. They think that in order to understand it, they have to take everything that they see in that new language and put it back into English. And you don't. You really don't. Let me give you an example. I can tell you what a word means by saying, here is the Spanish word for ear. And I'm telling you in English what that new word is. Or I could do it just like this. Oreja, nariz, ojo. See what I mean? Not everything is that easy to understand, but there are lots of things that are. And we don't need to play full-time translator because you're here to learn a language, not to become a translation expert. You have to give your brain a chance to understand the messages and the communication in a meaningful way, instead of just trying to translate everything back into English or whatever your native language is. And the truth is, you'll have to tolerate some level of unknown anyway, because it is a whole new language after all. With that said, everything builds little by little, so even though you might understand only a few basic words at first, then you understand a few more basic words, the thing is that over time, that gap closes more and more. In the beginning, most of the things that you see are unknown. And of course, you will have to translate some things, some words, some sentences or structures, just to give you an assist in understanding. But the focus here is that that is not driving your experience. Your learning is driven first by just trying to understand the messages and make sense out of them, without saying, my English has to take control and run the show here. Or again, whatever your native language is. It is a tool, not meant to be in the way. And that leads us straight into tip number 2. Tip number 2 is focus on communication, not perfection. First of all, perfection, not a thing. Not in language, generally not in the world or in life. But we're not trying to seek perfection here, and especially as somebody who is a beginner or intermediate in a language. Of course, the entire purpose of language at its core is communication. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to focus on anything else but that. The communication is what drives your learning, drives your understanding, and lets your brain make genuine connections and genuinely start to absorb something. The thing is, world languages are not like other school subjects. You're not just learning pieces of data to be tested on or regurgitate. You are learning a living and breathing system that is constantly changing in the world as language slowly evolves. So if you focus on the purpose of language, if you focus on communication and not worrying about, did I say every single word right? Did I conjugate the right verb? If you can just get your message across, that's worth way more than having everything perfect. Take it from me. I have lots of language experience and travel experience to different parts of the world. And I will tell you that communication is always the priority. People don't really care that much if your sentence is perfect. If they know that you're trying to communicate something, maybe it's a need, maybe you're asking for where something is, maybe you're trying to give them a compliment. They will always appreciate that. They're not worried about whether or not your communication was perfect. And so you'll learn much more easily if you are relaxed and focusing on the real goal of communication than if you are stressing over the tiny details that really aren't going to make your communication that much better. When you start to grow more in a language later on, it will be easier to iron out the details. But especially in your first couple semesters or first few years, you just need to focus on getting your message across. People will appreciate that a ton. Now, tip number 3. This is maybe my favorite one. Tip number 3 is talk with your teacher in the target language. This might sound kind of obvious because you're going to have a teacher and you're going to be hopefully in a classroom, and you will see that person. But I will tell you, most students do not take advantage of the opportunity to practice using that language with their language teacher. Now, granted, I've had lots of great experiences over the years with students who just wanted to chat with me in English. However, I would say as soon as you have a few tiny questions that you can ask your teacher to engage in a little bit of genuine, unstructured communication on a day-to-day practice, you will start seeing really good growth and you will start feeling a lot more comfortable in that language. So as soon as you can ask them even very small things like, not just how are you today? That question gets quite stale pretty fast. But you could ask them things like, hey, are you very busy today? What are you doing this weekend? Do you have a favorite animal? And especially at the beginning, simple things like that are awesome because your teacher too, they know your level. They know whether you're ready for a very long-winded, complicated response, or if you need something concise, and they will know how to give you just the right amount back to your level so they can help you grow a little bit. There's no stress there. There's no pressure because you're not in a testing situation there. It's not a homework assignment. You're just saying, hey, I'm gonna go and genuinely interact with this person and maybe learn something about them or share something about myself. And that's real communication. And it will help you feel comfortable and learn very fast. I took advantage of this in high school all the time. When I was in high school Spanish, I would go into class on most days and arrive a couple minutes before the bell, and I would just ask my teacher something like, hola, profe, ¿estás muy ocupado hoy? Or, hola, profe, ¿cómo has estado esta semana? Or, ¿qué vas a hacer este fin de semana? It doesn't matter. I would just ask him little things, and the conversations that came out of that were very beneficial for me. And they helped me build a lot of confidence too. And I can tell you with a lot of certainty, most students will not take advantage of that opportunity. That's kind of good news for you because you will, and then you'll start learning and gaining more language from it. Because just like we saw in tip number 2, communication is the focus, and that communication will boost your learning fast. Now, we could go on and on about all these other kinds of tips and things that I think you should do in class, but these I feel are the most important. So focus on those for now, just those 3. 1, taking in the language and not trying to translate everything back into your native language. 2, focus on communication and not perfection, because after all, that's what language is for. And 3, talk with your teacher in the target language. Even if it's a tiny thing, it's going to make a big difference. Just make the most out of your class time. And lastly, if you are taking English, French, or Spanish as a world language and you need help with one of those, I can help you out. I am a tutor of English, French, and Spanish online. There is a link to a Google form in the description of this video. And if you'd like some help with your class this semester, or you just want to learn, maybe you're not taking a class at all, go ahead and give that a click, fill the form out. It only takes a few minutes and I'll get back to you, usually within about 48 hours. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoy your language class and your language learning, and feel free to check out more videos on my channel if you need more help or you're more interested in going further and going above and beyond with your language to take it to the next level in your own time. Thanks for watching. Until next time. My name is Carp. I am a language